friends. Welcome back to another episode of the And Also podcast. I'm your host, Madison, and in today's episode, I am going to keep it very, very short and sweet, very simple, and we're just going to be doing the mental health update with SHEA. So the weekend that you're seeing this is like Thanksgiving, my birthday party, friends coming up from the city, like it's a whole thing. So I just wanted to keep this episode very short, very sweet, because future me would appreciate this a lot. Because I just know I don't want to do a full production for this week's episode. So I hope you enjoy the mental health update and hearing more about how my inner alignment healing is going. So let's just cut to the chase. Let's get into it. So if you didn't know, I am doing inner alignment healing with SHEA Opilla at Rooted Within, and she's an inner alignment coach. And we're doing her 8-week program where we really get into childhood trauma and just like deep grief, trauma, all sorts of things. And the premise of my podcast here is dealing with grief, dealing with trauma, dealing with the really hard things in life. And I lost my ex-partner of 6 years to suicide in 2022. Then I started this podcast to talk about grief and to hear from other people who are dealing with grief. And now I'm just at a point where I really want to work through some of this deeper stuff that I have going on. So this is week 4 of 8. And this week we did our first healing session. The healing sessions are pretty intense. We start just by talking about the general stuff that's going on and just trying to pinpoint something that's really weighing heavily on me. Last week, if you listened to my mental health update, I talked about, getting into the whole Regis timeline. And now that I'm in the Regis timeline, we had to pinpoint parts of it that might have been more difficult or more intense for me to deal with. And there was a particular experience that I'm comfortable briefly talking about, but there was a moment where I needed to speak to the authorities about what was going on, and they didn't take me seriously at all. They kind of laughed in my face. They basically were like, "You're being dramatic, grow up, let it go." And that was a really difficult thing for me. And that was a moment in the whole schizophrenia to suicide loss experience that just always stuck out to me as really difficult. And so the goal here is to talk about something that you're dealing with maybe now, maybe something relevant to your life, and to feel through that experience in your body, to figure out where you're holding it, to really lean into the feelings of fear, anger, regret, guilt, whatever it is, those really negative, heavy feelings. To truly lean into those. And then naturally, your body and your brain are going to bring up an experience from your childhood that might have felt the same way to you. So that's exactly what happened. And we got into some deep, deep, deep memories of my childhood and, my life growing up, and just relating those same feelings back to what I experienced with Regis. And that was really intense, and it was very emotional. And there was a moment that really stuck out for me. So in this whole healing session, the idea is to tap into that really, really deep place and essentially to feel through it, to understand maybe what you needed at that time in childhood. Did I need someone to hear me? Did I need someone to understand me? Did I need someone to just sit with me? And then to be able to bring your adult self into the room with childhood you. Give yourself space to give childhood you whatever you needed. And that is just such a beautiful thing to me. And being able to sit with my 6-year-old self who really just needed a hug, who really needed support, who needed to be heard, who needed to be talked to calmly, it was so powerful. So that is what we did in that session. And it was really intense, really emotional, but super, super helpful. So working through a lot of this stuff is a huge journey. It's not easy. It's not oh yay, I get to relive a lot of these, traumatic memories. But at the same time, there is something so worthwhile about that, to be able to go to those places, to be able to make peace with those things, to be able to feel it in your body and understand, hey, when I'm feeling, in that fight or flight, heavy chest, beating heart, anxious, it's probably because there's something from my childhood that causes that reaction because the way my brain has been wired. So it's helped me reason a lot more with the grief feelings and just the current things I deal with, whether I'm like, stressed out, anxious, and like running around on autopilot. Like, why am I doing that? What's an experience in my childhood that had that same feeling? So yeah, that's what we worked on this week, and it was really, really powerful. So I would say if you're dealing with intense grief, intense, trauma, childhood trauma, I would really recommend inner alignment healing. And as always, SHEA's information is in the description box. If you want to reach out to her and just chat with her, see if, her work is a good fit for what you're dealing with, please do. Because for me, like so far, we're halfway through the program, I just feel so different. And I feel like I have different tools to navigate my life and the hard moments. So that's the update on what we did this week in SHEA's program. And like I said, you can reach out to her if you're interested in doing some similar work. If you found that talk therapy maybe isn't the best fit for you and you want something deeper, something where you're actually feeling through this stuff, it's a really great option. So definitely send her a message if you're interested. All right, you guys, that's literally it for today's episode. I wanted to give you my mental health update to keep you in the loop. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to today's mini episode. If you have not already, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. If you're listening on audio platforms, definitely download the episode, rate the show. It really helps us reach a wider audience. The show is growing so much recently, and I'm really grateful for the response to last week's episode about turning 25. You guys sent me so much love and support. It's amazing. So thank you. Yeah, that's really it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in next week's episode. Take care, guys. Bye.